Welcome back to another video from Carl's Cycle Supply. Today's video we're going to go over 1937 Harleys and more specifically this beautiful bronze brown 1937 EL. This is a special bike. The video runs a little bit longer than some of our other ones. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, hit the like and subscribe. Thanks for checking it out. Hey everybody, this is a 1937 Knucklehead. It's a very special 37 Knucklehead because it's my dad's. We kind of are in the business of building bikes for people, buying parts to build bikes with, and consequently we're always finding stuff. My dad had a really nice bronze brown 37 back in 2009, and then he bought an original paint one. He was like, well, I don't really need to have two 37s, so we sold the brown one. The original paint one was really nice. It had a good motor. We bought it from the original owner's son. It ran really good. It was fast, but it was just getting tired. It was kind of time to do some heavy maintenance on it, and we didn't want to be the people to take the motor and transmission out of the frame for the first time since it was built. A perfectly restored bike like this, you can go out and ride. You can let your friends ride it. If they fall over and scratch it, you just repaint it and touch it up. It's not a big deal. But when it's an original paint, you know, historically significant bike, it kind of ends up owning you as much as you own it. So we knew the time was coming. We knew that eventually it would just be too nice to keep using. So we started gathering parts for another 37. And we're going to go over some of the cool 37 only features on this bike, and then we're going to tell you the story about where some of the parts came from. I love bikes like this because every part kind of tells you a story. We're sentimental people, so it feels good to like look at it, see the parts you got from your friends, and they're kind of riding with you. Let's start with some historical stuff on the 37. This is the second year of the Knucklehead. This is a huge improvement from 36. The frame is beefed up, the heads are beefed up, the fork is beefed up. It has better fender mounts, it has a better brake tab, the rear brake is beefed up, and it doesn't fade out as much as the 36 brake. It's really a cool motorcycle. They made a lot of improvements just in a few short months of production. 37 is the first year for sidecar loops that are an integral part of the frame. It has an 1 1/8" tube from the neck down to the loop, and then a 1-inch tube from here all the way back to the axle plate. 37 has a 1-year only oil tank. It still has banjo fittings, but the feed is at the bottom, and then it has this terrible drain system right here that takes forever to drain. The transmission has a 5th mount. The kicker cover has more bushing area and a smaller gasket to seal it up. It works really good. This is an earlier 37, so it has the same kicker arm as the 36. They welded up the little center and then metal finish this piece smooth. They have 2 air cleaners, and they're both held on with screws. They're a major pain in the butt to take off because it's hard to get to this screw. So consequently, we had the bike judged with the right air cleaner, and then we put a 38 and later J slot on it. Probably the most striking thing about a 37 is the pinstriping. This bike is dimensionally the same as a 36, 38, or 39, or 40 Knucklehead. But because of the striping that goes front to back, I feel like it makes them look longer and sleeker and lower. I just love the way they look. This particular bike is painted bronze brown with Delphine blue stripes edged in yellow. I color matched this to a new old stock tank that I bought when I was like 16 or 17. It came from Harry Molinar's shop. It's just really cool color. So 36 had like 5 different color options, and for some reason when they came out with 37 motorcycles, they thought that they could get away with just having 2 colors. So early in the year you could only get a brown 37 or a red 37. So you could special order stuff, but you know, you kind of had to know some people and pull some strings to do that. Right about the time they came out with Delphine blue, they discontinued a really cool feature that they had in 37, which was painting the oil tank the main color of the bike. So I've seen a few original paint Delphine blue bikes. They were big twin flatheads, and all of them had black oil tanks. All 37 big twins have a 120 mile speedometer instead of 100 miles, and then they all have a trip meter except for like maybe Cervicars. 37 Cervicar Speedo is about the rarest one, but it's kind of funny because it's a rare part that not very many people need or want. Like I said, it's my dad's bike. and he wanted to have it as a rider and something to have fun with. So about the time we were building it, we straightened a frame and a fork for a guy in Minnesota who had been given a 47 Knucklehead from his dad, and it had these handlebars on it, and we were able to buy them from him and get a little bit of the price off for straightening his frame and fork. These are Flanders bend. I'm not sure what year they are, but they're rubber mounted, and they're just really comfortable. They kind of put your arms up higher, and it's a much better, more comfortable ride. 36 and 7 handlebars come down very low, and they're comfortable, but when you're doing low speed turns, a lot of times it gets jumbled up by your left leg. The tanks came from our really good friend Randy in Minnesota, and they were really expensive, but they were really nice. They were in perfect shape. They came with a shift gate and shift lever. They were probably good enough to chrome, so I kind of regret painting them, but they're still really nice. One of the nicest sets we've ever had. These are early 37 tanks, so they're chamfered on the mounts to make welding easier. They came out in late 36. The fenders we got from a really good friend named Sonny in California. His real name was Chris Anderson. He got these from an old World War II vet, and they were hanging up in his rafters, and they are really nice. In other videos I talk about taking fenders apart and straightening them and then getting everything dimensionally perfect. These ones have never been apart. Original rivets, perfect definition here. The rear fender was just as nice, but it had been drilled for saddlebags, so we filled those holes. The motor came from Tom in Chicago, and we bought I think it was just the bottom end from him, and then went through it and got everything back to spec and happy. And it works really good. It's a 61 cubic inch, 1000 cc's, correct early 4-fin cylinders. The later, well, these are late 36, 37 heads. They're still ported, unlike late 37. And something that's cool that came out in late 36 is this little fitting. And this little fitting, you unscrew this acorn nut, and then you can blow compressed air into this cavity, and the air will blow out any blockages in the return lines for the oil cups that cover the valves. It's really a cool feature. It has an M5 carb, 6-inch air cleaner, early fuel strainer, nickel-plated overhead oil line. The muffler is stainless steel. I've made 2 stock ones and a few different custom ones over the years. The fork, we got this fork probably when I was in my early 20s from a guy in Chicago who had a tattoo shop. He was a really nice guy, and he bought a 46 with a sidecar, and it had this fork on it. And he called us up and he said, I've got this fork, it's kind of bent up. I want to trade it for a good 46 fork. And we're like, boy, we don't really need one right now, but that's an awesome deal, so let's do it. So we did it. And I guess consequently, that's probably the first part we got for this 37. That was almost 20 years ago. This is a reproduction Hansen windshield. These are made by a guy named Gary Gardner. My dad bought the first one that he made, and it's kind of like an old curtain. And basically, you can lift this up and then put these up for more coverage. I made a small modification. You know, if you look at the handlebars, your real estate really runs out and it doesn't leave much room for mirror clamps. So I machined up some little aluminum spuds and then welded them onto these pieces and then textured them so that it looked like it was cast that way. And it turned out really pretty nice. And then when you want to be in sport mode, it's like Crocs, they have the action and sport mode. So there you go. This is the last year of the tubular rear stand. After this, I went to a sheet metal one. The saddlebags are 37, maybe 38. They're kind of a basket weave pattern. They're really ornate and cool, very old Western looking. The seat is a standard solo seat, and then this is a buffalo cover that we had made for it. It just looks cool, especially on a brown bike. The CT is an original CT we got in Colorado from our friend Gail. So back when they first came out with the overhead valve engines, the metallurgy technology wasn't quite there, and I think a lot of the engineers were scared that the valve springs would overheat and that they would be lose their temper, and they kind of thought that having them out in the open and air-cooled was the answer, or at least that's what I've read. When they came out with Knuckleheads, the prototypes had open and exposed valve springs, and then the production ones were fitted with little covers that go over the springs and the tip of the rocker arm. The valve stem is oiled through the end of the rocker arm, and oil goes down through the valve stem, and then it oils the spring, and then the suction of the piston going down sucks oil through the return lines and back into here, and then down through the push rods, and then into the breather. This is a really cool system, and it's really cutting edge for the time, but it's still a little messy. So we dimensionally restore rocker arms and shafts. First we build up the shaft to make it a larger diameter, then we grind it down, and then we hone the rocker arms to fit, and then we make special thrust washers to set up the end play so that there isn't oil blowing out past the end. After about 350 to 500 miles, you have to wipe a little bit of oil off the front of this fender and a little bit off the oil tank, but overall it works just as good as they did when they were new. So it makes like a very small vapor, and it's just kind of neat. And they made a retrofit kit to enclose the rockers for 36 and 7, and we like to leave them open. It's kind of fun to ride down the road and just put your hand down here and you can feel the rear exhaust rocker moving and doing what it's supposed to make the motor run. Okay, so looking at this side, still has the short low down clutch pedal, square crash bar, and this is the first year that the clamps go right onto the tube. Before that they went onto a spacer. It has a 4-speed constant mesh transmission. This shift knob one of our employees gave us. He found a brown one at an antique market, and it's a super cool fit. So it's a beautiful original skull dash, original amp gauge, original oil gauge, original speedo. Correct early switch. 37 and 38, they use this little lever to turn on the speedo light, and that's kind of a cool thing. It has a baby butt manifold, small port heads with long reinforcements right here. And if you look under the paint, there's a little Y stamped in here, and that Y means it's a ported intake ports. Narrow outer primary. This one has a belt drive on it, which gears it up a little bit. We have to do a lot of machine work to the clutch hub to get it to fit in the original primary cover, but I think it's totally worth it. So this is a, like I said, 1-year only oil tank. Early ones are painted the same color as the body. It has a patent decal on each side in 37 and 38, and then it also has the short weld, which all Knucklehead tanks have. The chain guard is made out of 3 pieces, but this piece is riveted on instead of being spot welded, and then it has this little short 5/16 bolt that threads into a little bung on the back side of there. Here you can see how the striping stops right here, and in the other areas it just goes right off the tip of the fender. You can see the speedometer is 120 miles an hour. This is oil, this is amp, this is the early switch, and this is the speedo light. This is the last year of a mechanical speedometer lock, so it does not have a plug on the left side of the dash. It has short narrow caps, 4-speed shift gate, Flanders bars, Hansen windshield. I mean, what a cool rider's eye view. This is an awesome bike. Buffalo seat that we had made locally. There is the basket weave saddlebags, the beautiful Delphine blue stripes edged in yellow. What's cool about these is if you stand far enough away back, your brain kind of gets tricked into thinking they're almost green. And it's neat how your brain auto blends them together. The tail light, you can see that the cup is chrome plated. The bracket for the license plate is painted black, just like the original. 18-inch wheel reins. These were sold by Indian and Harley. I had them made for 18 and 19-inch wheels, and it's neat because it just kind of makes the wheel look bigger. Looking at the decals, you can see that it's gold and silver leaf, and these things practically glow in the dark. Decals are a real challenge. A lot of times they'll lift or bubble up, and the colors never really look quite right. So we have a friend that comes in, and when he does the striping, he does these things painted on, and they end up looking as close to original as anything I've ever seen. This is a pre-war fender light. It's got real sharp, pronounced features, milky white lens. There's the 9-bolt horn. This is a 36/7 top mount. There's no provision for headlight terminal wires, and it has chrome-plated reinforcement plates, which is a really cool look. Black painted headlight bracket, chrome-plated headlight. Here's another shot of the Vincent windshield. Very cool period post-war piece. Flanders bars with original S-brake handle and shortened grip. 38 and earlier cable oiler. These risers are 4.5 inches. You have to put the pinch bolts on the front, otherwise they hit the dash. Here is the upside of the 37. Look at how beautiful that motor is. One of my favorite things about any of the bikes my dad puts into circulation for riding is that the way he rides, his right heel always rubs on the cam cover and kind of polishes a little spot in it. This one's just starting out, but his 36 and 39, they're like really shiny. Right here, you can see the early front clevis that they used through 39. Looking at the beautiful engine, it's got the early push rods with the stainless steel clips, aluminum rocker boxes. Bronze brown is such a cool color. We're starting final assembly on a black 37 that we got big plans for, and an orange and cream one and a red one. So if you guys want to stick around and see more builds coming up, hit the like and subscribe like the kids say nowadays.